Hello YouTube, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be getting into a little discussion about how to choose the right drift car for you. I didn't really think it would be too entertaining to just sit in front of the camera, talk the whole time, and just be my face. So what I thought I would do is pull out my 1995 C4 Corvette and give it a wash, and I can talk over that. So it'd be something a little bit better to look at. Hasn't been started in probably about 8 months or so. It's just been sitting on this battery tender, and I put some fuel stabilizer in the tank. So hopefully she'll fire up. It's never failed me yet. We'll see how it goes. All right, it's time for the moment of truth. Car fired up perfect, just like every time, so it's definitely good. I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, warm up, and show you guys how filthy she is. So yeah, as you can see, it's very dirty. And now I'm not seeing it. Oh yeah, like right here, you can see these are cat paw prints. A cat walking across the hood, but I figure that the cat may be making some small scratches in the clear coat is probably better than mice making nests out of the wiring and having to rewire the entire car. I have a polisher and everything, so I can polish up the clear coat, get all those scratches out. It's not a problem, but if I had to pay someone to rewire this whole car, it would definitely be a nightmare. But yeah, there she is, and we'll get into the video. All right, so how to choose a drift car. Before we get started, I just want to say this is not like a definitive guide that's going to tell you every single detail, and by the end of this video you're not going to know like the exact car with the exact mods that you need to get, but it's more just to get you thinking about what you need to consider to find a car that's going to be right for you. I think the easiest way to think about this is to kind of break the cars down into three main categories. And the three main categories are going to be, on one end, you have the bolt-on car. Could also be considered like seat time car, or a missile car would probably fall into this sort of category as well. But it's going to be mostly a stock car with just bolt-on modifications made specifically for that car. Nothing really custom. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we're going to have the pro car, which is like something you'd use for like Pro-Am all the way up to FD, Drift Masters if you're in Europe, D1 in Japan, any sort of like competition level car could use in like pro or semi-pro competitions. Not going to be street legal. And then the third category is in the middle. I'm going to call this the in-between car, for lack of a better term. I'm going to kind of explain more in depth each one of these categories, and then we can talk more about what things you're going to want to consider to choose a car. It's not so much about like a certain model of a car or a certain chassis. Pretty much any car could be modified to any of these levels. It's more just how serious the car is, how modified it is. So bolt-on car is going to be stock motor, or at least very, very close to stock motor. Nothing more than like intake, exhaust, maybe an upgraded turbo, maybe bigger cam or something like that, depending on the motor, but going to want a mostly stock motor, stock ECU, stock wiring harness, close to stock power, reliable, simple, just going to turn the key and run every time. Along with that, Gonna need some kind of locking differential, could be a welded diff, could be LSD, kind of just depends on preference here, but obviously the simplest, cheapest option is going to be the welded. Gonna want to have a transmission that came factory in the car with that motor, not some like weird swap with adapter plates, all this stuff. You could do that, right? But I mean, just for the sake of this bolt-on car, we're going to be imagining just stock trans. And then just basic bolt-on suspension mods to make the car better. Gonna want angle, coilovers, anything you need on the interior to make the car more comfortable, like a bucket seat. Harness is optional. I mean, we could have stock seat belts in here, full interior, but just, bucket seat, steering wheel, just things to make you comfortable on the interior. Hydro, if needed. You could use a stock handbrake. You could put an extension on the stock handbrake just to make it whatever you need to work for you. And then just whatever other tech requirements you're going to need at the tracks you're going to be driving. But just stock power, stock ECU, stock wiring harness, locking diff, angle, coilovers, and then whatever you need on the interior just to make your experience better, more comfortable. Next, we're going to have the in-between car, and this can look like a lot of different things, but it's probably a car that's never been completely stripped down. It's probably going to be like your LS swap cars, maybe like LS swap, JZ swap, RB swap, anything that has a motor swapped into it or a significantly built motor. This is going to be getting into transmission swaps as well. Maybe you have some interior, maybe you don't. Probably going to be mostly factory wiring, maybe some kind of modified harness, but probably not fully rewired. Again, this one has a lot of probablys because this is kind of the broadest category because it kind of takes up this whole middle space, bridging the gap from bolt-on to pro. But you're most likely going to have factory fuel tank. Maybe you can go to a fuel cell, but I mean, you could definitely run factory tank with this setup. Possibly going to have a roll cage, not necessarily. But this is a car that is significantly built, mostly going to be motor swap, transmission swap kind of things in this category. And then for the pro, car is going to be completely stripped down chassis, or just like buying a rolling shell to start with, or somebody did to build it to this level. It's going to have fully built engine, possibly going to have a dog box transmission, probably going to have quick change rear end. Depending on the car and the setup, you might have rear mount radiator, going to have full cage, custom wiring harness, probably going to have a standalone ECU, fuel cell. This is the whole 9 yards. Just completely like all out drift car, tube front and rear, just like no holding back. Like, what you'd expect to see at a pro level. Now, you kind of have an idea of what the categories are. We're going to be going over how to choose. And this is probably the hardest part. You got to think, what are your needs for the car? And the most important thing when you're choosing a car is being honest with yourself. Are you a mechanic? Where do you live? What kind of storage space do you have? Do you have a trailer? Do you have a truck? These are all things you're going to need to think about. Let's kind of dive into it. So things you need to consider. These are not going to go necessarily in any particular order. These are just the things that I think are important to think about, the main things that are going to help you make your decision. And we're going to start off with where you live, because this is the only thing in this whole video that's going to be like chassis specific. Like specific models of cars can be ruled out by this. Other than that, it's only just going to be the degree to which it is built. So what I mean by this is like, you're going to want to consider how much you're going to be driving the car and how fast you're going to need to get parts for it, what your budget is. If you live in America and you're trying to drive a lot and drive really hard and work on the car a lot, you're probably not going to want something like a JZX that were never sold in America. They're all imported. They're going to be really hard to find parts for. The parts are going to be expensive. It's going to take a long time to get the parts. Like, how serious are you about driving this thing a lot? If you're just going to drive it a couple times a year, you have a bunch of time to get the car prepped and you can drive it. And if it breaks, you're fine just going home and waiting for parts. If you live in Japan, maybe you don't want to get a Corvette or a Mustang or something like that. That's the only reason, or like the only thing that's going to affect certain models of cars. If you're trying to drive every weekend and fix your car at the track, you need something that you can get parts for quick, easy, and cheap. Not necessarily cheap, but depending on your budget, you might want to be able to get cheap parts. Now, everything else, it's kind of can go for like any car. So, how often are you going to be driving? What kind of tracks are you going to be driving? If you're going to be trying to drive every single weekend, get as much time in the car as possible, you're going to want something simpler. When you get to these pro cars and these in-between cars, they require a lot of maintenance. I mean, the pro car guys who are actually running these pro series have whole entire teams to keep their cars running. And even then, they're still, missing, portions of competitions because of broken cars. In between car, same thing. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time working on it compared to the amount of time you're going to be driving it. If you're trying to drive every single weekend, get as much seat time as possible, I would strongly consider getting the bolt-on car. It's going to be the most reliable, the easiest and least amount of maintenance, cheapest parts. It's going to be super simple. You can get a bunch of seat time and learn a ton in this car. Next thing to consider would be the tracks you're going to be driving. If you're driving a bunch of really small kart-style tracks, and most of the cars there are going to be slower, simpler cars, probably don't want this crazy pro car with a ton of power. You're not going to be able to drive with anybody. You're going to be trying to hold the car back the whole entire time, not really get to use the potential there, and you're going to be changing tires every 3 or 4 laps, going through a ton of fuel. It's going to cost a ton of money to just have to try to hold the car back and not probably have the best experience. If you had just a simple in-between car or simple bolt-on car, you can turn laps all day, make your tires last forever, not have to waste time working on the car, and just have a ton of fun on these smaller tracks and just let it rip. Now, if you're going to be I don't know what the heck I'm saying. If you're going to want to be driving much bigger tracks, higher speeds, then bolt-on car probably isn't right unless your bolt-on car is like a C6 Z06 or something like that. At that point, you might want to go to an in-between car with some kind of higher power motor swap or the pro car where you can do these big banked tracks and stuff like that. One thing to think about there. Another thing, storage space, workspace. Like, do you have a garage or a shop where you can work on this car? Do you have a place to keep the car? If you have multiple vehicles and it's not going to be like your daily driver. If you don't have the space to work on the car, like me, in my case, I live in an apartment. I daily drive my drift car. So I can't have like a truck and a trailer and a drift car and all this stuff. I only have, the space at my apartment. I got to be able to drive my car to and from the track because I don't have a trailer. I don't have like a garage or a really great space to be working on the car all the time. So I don't want something super crazy that I'm going to have to do a ton of work on. So for me, the bolt-on car makes sense. I can drive it to the track. I can drive it home. I can drive it to work. I can drive it to the grocery store. I shouldn't really have to do a ton of work on it other than just regular maintenance. Change the oil, whatever, put tires on it, put gas in it, fix the things that break. But I'm not going to be working on it for hundreds of hours every weekend. Well, not every weekend, hundreds of hours, but hundreds of hours over multiple weekends. Spend a ton of time prepping the car to trailer it out to the track. I just turn the key and it starts and it works and it drives. And I can just get seat time in the car learning. So do you have a truck and trailer? Do you have work storage space? And then obviously this is a really important one. What is your budget? Maybe buying an in-between car that somebody else has built already is similar to what you'd spend on a bolt-on car buying all the parts for it. But you got to think, how many tires are you going to go through? How much maintenance are you going to have to do the car? All this is what is going to really add up to be the cost. It's the cost of operating the car, not just buying it. It's very important to think about. Let's see what else. This is one of those things, another category where you have to be really honest with yourself. Are you a mechanic? Do you have experience working on cars or the type of car that you want? Maybe you can buy an in-between car someone else has built, say you got like S chassis with an RB swap or LS swap, something like that. Super cool car, sounds great, it's badass, it's fast, super cool car. Are you going to be able to work on it when it breaks? Are you going to be able to work out these issues with the funny wiring that the last guy did? Do you know the person who built it? Do you know that they built it well? If they didn't build it well, are you going to be able to straighten it out? Even if they did, when something breaks and it's all custom, there's not a YouTube video you can go to figure out how to fix it. You kind of have to be a mechanic or be willing to pay a mechanic if you're going to have this in-between car or the pro car. You also got to think when you're at the track and it breaks, there's a really good chance you're probably not going to get it fixed the same day. If you don't have a ton of mechanical knowledge, bolt-on car is a really good option. If something breaks, there will be a YouTube video showing you how to fix it. You can just look up the model of your car, what the problem is. There'll be tons of forum information about it, all this stuff. You can probably get it fixed the same day at the track. There's going to be other people at the track who know how to work on it. It's going to be super simple in that aspect. If you are a mechanic and that's what you like and you like working on cars and that's your thing, then go ahead and do the in-between car. That's awesome. We have to be honest with yourself. What is your capability of maintaining the car, keeping it running? Because if you're not ready for the in-between car, you might have a super sick car, but when it breaks, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time. You're going to have to trailer it home. It might not be the best experience in that case. So you got to think also, what is your motivation for getting this car? Are you trying to get out to the track every single weekend, turn a ton of laps, get a ton of seat time, and learn and grow? Or do you just want a cool car that you can take out and you can drift a couple times a year if you want? If you're trying to go for this crazy seat time, you're probably going to want the bolt-on car. If you just want something cool that you can take to car shows, that turns a lot of heads, starts a lot of conversations, and maybe you'll take it to the track every now and again, then in-between car is starting to make more sense in a case like that. There's just all these different aspects you need to think of. And then I'm sure there's something I'm missing. It's really hard to cover all this in one video, but these are just the main considerations I think you should think about when you're looking to get a drift car. Final thing I'll leave you with is the resale value. Is this a car you're going to keep for a long time? Is this just your first car that you want to learn in? Do you want to get your money back at the end of this experience? This is something that has so many different avenues. Now, if it's just your first car, you just want to learn, I'd really strongly suggest getting the bolt-on car. It's going to be really easy to sell to somebody who's in the same position later down the road. You're not going to lose a lot of money on it. The value you're going to get from this car from being able to just drive it, have it work, not dump a ton of money into it, get a bunch of seat time, and then be able to sell it probably for close to what you have into it is really good. If you're building an in-between car yourself, you're almost always going to lose money. If you're building a pro car yourself, you're 100% always going to lose money. That's just how it is. You cannot sell these things for the amount of money you put into it. It never happens. If you're buying an in-between car that someone else has already built, or a pro car someone else has already built, you're getting a crazy deal. Way, way less than the amount of what they have into it on top of the cost of the initial car. But they are going to be a lot harder to sell. You have to find a very specific buyer. With that being said, you can probably sell it for close to what you bought it for if it's still in good condition. However, you're going to spend an absolute ton of money just operating this car. Fuel cost of transporting it on the trailer with your truck. It's going to consume more fuel at the track. It's going to consume way ton more tires. It's going to have a ton more maintenance. And just all these things is going to add up to costing a ton more. So, in conclusion, I would say the most important thing when choosing a car is understand what your needs are. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. No matter what category you choose, it's probably going to cost more than you think when it's all said and done, going to events. Do you have a place to store it? Do you have a truck and trailer? Do you have to daily drive the car? Is it just an extra car that can be broken and sit? And what is your budget? I would say are the most important things you got to think about. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I know there's a lot kind of crammed into a short little video, but I think these are the most important things you really need to think about when you are trying to make this decision. After all, it is a pretty big investment, and operating the car and doing these events is going to be even more of a, I don't know if I'd say investment, but a lot of money being spent here. So definitely a lot to think about. Like I said, this is just to kind of get you started down this path of thinking and considering all these different options. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead, drop them down in the comments. But I hope this helped. Please leave a like and subscribe if you made it to the end and you found this video helpful, and keep an eye out for upcoming videos in the future. Bye, everybody.